Hey y'all, I'm gonna share some more poetry with you. I got a request about the poetry and I'm gonna share some. This piece is called Rebuilding Me. Using writing to heal me, I'm starting to see the patterns that shape me and my thoughts about love. Through the joy and the pain, the common theme that remained the same is giving so much of me. Created every state of emotion that was surrounded my relationship with He. My thoughts, my actions, the ignoring of the many infractions, all in the name of love. Tough it seemed sometimes because my heart always seemed to see the good in bad situations, realizing the vibrations change, but my heart remained the same, incarcerated, fixated on unconditional love. The ups and downs, the ins and outs, thinking that is what true love is all about, forgetting the most important key, and that's doing what compliments me. I humbly await, this time not tempting fate, not only gaining the understanding, but living the truth this time. I made up my mind that I deserve so much better. Following my newfound lessons to the letter, I am healed. My heart I will not conceal this time. It will be proudly on display. I fast and pray I make the right choices in the future, making sure I do what suits her. You only have one heart, so I will not allow it to be torn apart again. This one is called Focused Thoughts. Realizing in every goodbye there's a whisper of hello to a piece of me that was lost. Situation that brings some to their knees causes me to stand tall. Realizing there is seasons to life, winter, spring, summer, and fall. You just have to weather the storms. Just for the season. There's always reasons for every trial. Are you ready to swim some miles? That's the question I ask these days, especially when my heart has been dismayed as those individuals fade to black. I realized what I lacked was something no one could give me. The love that I required requires consistency, commitment, and discernment. I refuse to let my heart ferment, thinking of time spent, pondering if in some way did I misrepresent my heart's purpose. Not losing focus, I walk with my eyes strongly fixed on the horizon. I keep rising, and I continue to rise until all hurt feelings reside. Filled with pride, knowing I wasn't the one that lied. I stayed true to me, living out my highest equality, remaining free of regret and guilt, not crying over the milk spilt. I know who I be and remain true to that, knowing that it wasn't what I lacked, just a simple fact. I just must be more selective in who I attract. Okay, now I'm going to read another one. Let's see. Loving myself. Life changes, often rearranges how I feel. Complacency is a place where I refuse to rest. After all these tests life seems to put me through, but I'm no fool, nor am I anyone's doormat. Many days I just sat still and thought about where I was going, where I was coming from, and how I got, and will I get to where I need to be. I apologize to my heart, this time on bended knee, hoping this time it will forgive me for making the same stupid choices I made in the past. Hoping that this one time the first would be last and finally the last would be first. Am I cursed? Today is Mother's Day. Ironically, today I give birth to a new me. I'm still going by the name of equality. It's just a new me. It's really free this time. I think I need to print up some signs to let people know that this girl over here had time to grow and is starting to see the seeds bloom that were planted way back when I learned how to sow. It's harvest season, you know. You can tell by the fruit blossoming in the sun. I had enough of all the games. They weren't my idea of fun anyway. I thought you were the one. I must have been mistaken. When you inquired about my heart, I should have told you it was taken. I guess it would have saved me from breaking it again. Lesson learned. I'm ready to move on with my life. Realizing somebody's wife may not be the way for me. Upset that my heart had to be broken into a million pieces for me to see. Can't complain because in the end my eyes are wide open. And now I see what I'm supposed to see. The only one I need in my life is me. I want to read this poem called, let's see, trying to find it. Little Red Hen. Innocent, or so it seemed, to be the leader of the team when times get rough. I had to get tough to the point I'm not tender anymore. So the inner depths had to be explored. When I went inside, I saw all the fun I had been missing. I was too busy slaving in the kitchen, getting the kids off to school, taking care of everyone else became my mission. I began to neglect the person that made it all click. I was the most crucial person that needed to be fixed. So I shut down the fix it shop and made myself top priority. Because I learned that I was there for others, but no one was there for me. When I was down on my luck, nobody came over to see me. If there was anything I needed, the moral of the story, read the title and you will see. I've learned to be the little red hen in my life in that sense of remember the story of little red hen, and she had the bread and she had to bake the bread and she had to do everything by herself. And then when it was time to eat, everybody came with their napkins and everything. Everybody was sitting down and she ate alone. Don't be afraid to eat alone. That's what that story is about. Especially if you're the one who put all the work in and people are just want to show up to reap the benefits and they don't want to help build or grow you to your experiences. What life has taught me. Smile warms me like the sun warms the earth, eyes shimmering with ambitious concentration, hiding the pain of an arduous past, not having too many people they can call friend, cautious to begin again. I've seen you before, says he, way before you became equality. How could that be? Let me see. I had to search my mind, a long journey through time, to reveal a place where we met before. A painful place where I seldom explore. However, I was implored to do so. And don't you know the place of pain no longer seemed the same? I needed to go back to reclaim my throne. Understanding all of the disrespect shown is because I didn't give my attention to all who sought after me or told them we just couldn't be. So why stay away from your city? All because of the heartbreak committee? Some guys can act so petty, if you know what I mean. The same ones that were trying out for the team didn't make the cut, now want to plot. I peeped your scheme, and you wonder why I'm so mean? As the painful memories disappeared again, the only thing I can remember is seeing him, remembering that scent of his cologne I used to smell in the breeze when he walked by. My eyes began to swell. I started to cry. It was the cause of my deception. I realized I missed my call as I traced my steps over my fall from grace. You should have seen my face. I know what victory could have tasted like, and I know where I went wrong. Finally understanding after listening to my own song, I may never even totally get it right. But what I learned last night was this. The race isn't always to the one that's fast or even to the swift. It's to the one that can last. So realizing all my hells came from the lack of endurance on my behalf. This poem, and then it goes on to say, sometimes you just have to slow down and see all the beautiful colors in life as they are today. Enjoy the now. The future will always be a step away. So I sit basking in the sun rays, counting my blessings, and I am amazed at how each decay makes way for new beginnings. Lucky for me, this game included extra innings, and I stay forever winning. Because no matter the outcome, I know I will always receive the tools for the way I must go. How do I know? Life has taught me so. So this poem, I wrote this poem. It was about I had moved on from a situation and somebody popped back into my life, but they tried to come in a way where, I guess like a catfish type of way. And then I figured out who they were. And then I remembered the relationship that we had. And I remember why we broke up. And I remembered a lot of it had to do with me so not wanting to feel pain that I ran away from the situation. And then when we finally reconvened after about, I'd say about 16, 15 years, I found out that my actions were ego driven. If we had sat down and had communication, I would have found out that we really were on the same page, and I just needed a little bit more patience with my relationship. So, and so patience is a virtue. And then also knowing that every experience is there to teach you something. They all give you tools. Every relationship that you have previous prepared you for the one that you are in today. So you have to go back and think about your past lessons, even if that means your relationship with yourself, because you don't have to be in a relationship right now. So even within your relationship with yourself, go back, reflect. I'm trying to find this one poem, but still haven't found it yet. Hold on. Oh, here it is. This is one of my favorites. This is my poem. I had writer's block for many years, and then in 2012 it broke, and I started writing it again. So this poem is entitled "Free." This poem I did with my brother's group. They're called the Audio Bodies, AUDIOBODIES. You could look them up on YouTube. But this particular song is "Free." That song inspired it. When you listen to that song and then you listen to this poem again, you will see where I'm talking about. Okay, free. I've been fighting the tears, so I decided to write. Instead of with fists, I decided to use my pen tonight. The rage of my clenched fists banging on this box. I gotta break free as the audio bodies rock. In the background plays the soundtrack of my life. I've had so many titles and none of them seem to fit me just right. It's been a few years because of this writer's block. I haven't written a poem since I cut off my locks. I'm that caged bird that Dunbar heard sing, but instead of banging my wings, I've decided to dream. I allowed hues to become the muse to my blues, so instead of sitting on the steps because I found it kind of hard, I chose to step out of my box and leave my own backyard. You see, I knew what Harriet Wheatley and her pa knew, and the one thing that reigned true was that I am free and will continue to be. No matter how many people may try to shackle me, I refuse to be a slave to the next man's ignorance. I will do my dance to the rhythm of life, erasing the hurts, erasing the doubts, using a pen to fight my bouts. I'm no longer going to keep the hurt bottled up inside, allowing my ego and pride to cover up the hurt I felt when he lied. How on the inside I cried and cried, but on the outside I wore a mask, wanting to slow down because my life seemed to be moving too fast, too fast, too fast. Where are the brakes? Been talking about the next man, but I'm the one that's being fake. But for whose sake? Surely not for mine, because I continue to carry the burdens in my mind, walking through life trying to find an exit to happiness, carrying the pain, needing to confess that I allow people to hurt me. But I'd rather let them think everything is copacetic. Am I the only one who's really being pathetic? Because if their eyes truly allowed them to see the unhappiness that really dwells inside of me, I wanted to yell out, "Hey, you hurt me," when you took our friendship for granted. But instead, a seed of misery in my soul became planted, making me grow weary and old before my time. But it's not in my nature to drop a dime, as the words "no snitching" came to mind. So I decided to take my exit, which was somewhere between Lady Sings the Blues and one of Mary J's songs, or perhaps it was Erykah Badu. Whatever it was, I decided to make myself all over brand new. I looked in the mirror and uttered those three words: I love you, I love you, I love you. So whatever you heard about me no longer holds true, unless those words encompass the newfound me, which are the greatest words that can ever be. Those are the words filled with love and compassion, or any of those great words your mind can fashion. Those are the ones that I've embraced after all the challenges I had to face. So now I'm ready to go collect my box and carry it to the landfill so it could become compost. Not to the recycling plant where it can find a new host, because equality doesn't live there anymore. My wings have healed and I'm ready to soar. I feel so free. Now you can continue to be blinded by your fantasies, but just know that I am free. This one is called Guarded Against Heartbreak. Recalculating my steps, realizing I missed one along the way. Not sure what journey I want to take today. Do I go back and pick up the one I lost along the way? Or do I continue on my path? In the past, when I went back, it was to pick up someone already along for the ride. But this one was left on the other side. Sun and moon were eclipsed that day. However, today the old passengers aren't the same. They have grown older and their ways have changed. What used to be an amicable greeting turns into a chore. That old spark doesn't have the same lure, but ironically, it seems to offer so much more. I guess it's because I've grown and my needs mature. I'm no longer looking at life as a struggle anymore. It's a time to be spent enjoying your days. So I'm going to do just that. No more living with regrets, worrying about problems that probably won't even come into fruition. That's the key to the heartbreak every time. Learned the lesson already, moved on. It no longer fits the ignition. I have guarded myself with the latest safety equipment known to man. And when that all fails, I will make use of these hands. This is called Heart's Betrayal. My heart always seems to betray me when it comes to love. I say this because every time I follow its lead, I always seem to be deceived by myself. Haven't I already learned? The last time my heart was burned, I couldn't take it. If only my heart ain't make such a big deal out of nothing. My chest cavity wouldn't be empty. There would be something pumping inside. This last incident caused me to run and hide. Maybe I should have just lied or said nothing at all. Maybe I never should have told him to call, because that's what started my fall, listening to his voice. Wishing I made a different choice. When I decided, I thought that he would make a better friend. I tried to hide it, my feelings, because of what I'm feeling today. Maybe something I already knew that day when I made my decision, that choice became my vision. Mental distorted as I analyzed all the other chicks he aborted. Even though those choices I supported, knew they didn't make the batch, never truly finding his match. Life of bachelors, the many he attracts, but choose none, only out of fun. And that's the one I pick. How sick my mind must be, always attracting those that can't totally be available for me. Is it because I haven't been totally there for myself? I'm there for everyone but me. Now I'm finally beginning to see how damaging that lifestyle can be. So I promise to take time out for me. It don't even matter if he picks she. I'll be too busy working on a new me to attract a better he for me. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And I feel good. I wrote this poem in a response to being cheated on. And so when I was cheated on, I was feeling some kind of way about the whole situation. And at the first part, I started looking at myself and thinking there was something wrong with me. Then I had to look at his patterns, the individual I was dealing with, their patterns, and saw that was their pattern. Then I had to think about, why would I attract somebody with a pattern like that? What put me in that position to attract that individual in my life? And I realized it was because of habits that I had that needed to be broken. And that was giving so much of me to others that I didn't have any reserves left for myself. So, so I started writing these poems, and they was private. I had no intention of sharing my poems with the world. They were like my journal. Like some people write, sentences in journals. My journals come out in poetry form. I don't know why, it just does. And it was one of my friends, Katwala. I love her dearly. We were somewhere and she was reading over my shoulder, and she asked me if she could use one of my poems. And at first, I'm not gonna front. At first, I felt violated because I felt like, oh my God, like someone's reading my diary, so to speak. And then when I realized how healing my work was for other people, I began to share, and that's what I started to do. So every now and then, I do that. But I want to end off with this poem because it's dear to me too. It's called It Takes a Village. How many children will be left behind? They only require that you share your mind, but we rather walk around pretending to be blind until we find that same kids we chose to ignore decided to rob the corner store. Now you're ready to explore the cause after they started breaking the laws? You know the problem just as you knew it when it was being created. Remember when you innocently stated it wasn't your problem and you had no desire to solve them? Now you want to condemn the parents when it was clearly apparent that they needed help. For it takes an entire village to raise a child. So don't complain if they become wild when you took no hand in raising them. I don't want to hear you crying victim. These children are the real victims raised in a system where wisdom isn't given or imparted. And you wonder why they are so guarded. Their growth and development became retarded from something their elders started. Caught up in the local drama, children raising themselves or their grandmamas, who's too tired to put up with the demands of such a role. They lose control and we all lose. So I choose to deal with the future problems today. Too critical for there to be a delay. The future is only a second away. So I wanted to end with that poem because that's the foundation of it. It takes a village. A lot of things in life, we're not even, how would you say? A lot of things in life, we're not even taught certain things. Like a lot of people won't share, like the poems that I shared, those are real things that happened to me. Those are real pains that I went through. But I'm sharing them so people can know, like, even with me helping or taking on the role that I currently have in my life as far as the counseling aspect, like to understand that I had real experiences as well. And I'm willing to open up. And this is what I do in my counseling sessions. Like I open up and I also share my own personal experience if need be. So people can see that, and this too shall pass. They could learn lessons that I learned. They share lessons that they learn. So it's like a equally benefiting situation, but it does take a village because had I been taught some of these things that I'm sharing now when I was a child or when I was first starting out the love process, like I had to learn about love all on my own. No one taught me. No one like sat me down and told me, oh, well, you should expect this or you should expect that. It was like a blank slate, like that movie Lord of the Flies. I had to learn everything on my own. And in learning that, I did make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And I'm not afraid to admit that I made mistakes. And I think that's the difference between this generation and the generation of past. The generation of past didn't want to share their mistakes because they thought that you would look at them different. I'm different. I don't care how people look at me, because I know in life, we all have individual journeys. I'm not in competition with anybody. And as long as I'm learning the lesson and as long as I'm being a better person today than I was yesterday, I feel like I'm doing my duty. And so that's why it doesn't bother me to share stories or things that I went through. Like, I'm not ashamed of anything that I went through. They were all life lessons. Anything that I've gone through and you bring to me, I can tell you what lesson I learned from it. And that's the real power in it. It's not like you should not be ashamed of being tricked or having somebody take advantage of you. What lesson did you learn from it? That's the bottom line of it. Don't get caught up in the hurt. Find out what did you learn from these experiences, And my poetry is the way that I wrote out the lessons, And I'm going to do a poetry section daily. I'm gonna do the tarot thing too for those that are that request that. But I want to do a poetry section daily, and we can discuss, the issues and the topics that come up in those different poems. But I know they are healing for me. And I do go back to my old poems when I'm going through new challenges to remind me about the lessons that I learned in the past, and to remind me, and this too shall pass, and to remind me to pay attention and enjoy the now. Because a lot of times we're so focused on the past pain and possible future hurts that we're not enjoying the happiness of right now. So from this day on, I'm going to start sharing this with you guys, and thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate the love.